Hello everybody, welcome to another day of Cosmoteer. Let's go ahead and dive back into the game. Today we're going to be looking at something pretty interesting. Now we saw this one recently in the community ships, and as soon as I touched it, I really couldn't put it down, so I just kept playing it. This was built by New Player. So the original design is the version 3. Then we just had some doors that needed to be fixed. So we'll go ahead and put in version 3, and we'll put in version 3.1. Hoshell, welcome. So when you're looking at version 3, the main thing version 3 was missing a door, and then New Player did rebuild it and started with version 3.1. So you can see 3.1 has the door here, 3.1 has the door here, which is basically just the operators for all the lasers. And you can see that's the difference for version 3.1. Now we're going to go jump all the way to the one that I modified, and we're going to show you the difference between the two and what I saw. So first we're going to look at the original. We're going to see what the problem was. So the first problems that I saw with this ship was we're missing power for lasers, we're missing power for shields. It does a huge burst damage in the beginning, but sustainability is extremely lacking. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to watch this, and you're going to see we're watching the original first, and I'll go over to show you all the modifications I did. And you'll see right here the shields go down, right? And then the shields go down, and then eventually the weapons will run out of energy as well. And then now it's just a sitting duck as one of the biggest problems. You see some of the weapon systems go down. These weapon systems are still up in the back because they're not pressured from all the shields and all the damage it is taking from here and there. So that was something that I thought, okay, that's the first thing we need to fix is the power issues. And it took me some time to try to figure out what we're going to do with all the different power here. And sometimes it depends on what it does. The other problem too is the control room. You see the control room here? Even this one, even the one that I modified, also has the problem sometimes. If you lose one control room, the ship sits there like a sitting duck like this one is right now. So what I did was I took the control rooms and I moved the control rooms further back to protect them. So most of the times they are protected enough when you put them in the back. The other thing that is also the ship is lacking is it doesn't have an airlock. And fire extinguishers were also placed in some weird places too. So then we'll come over here and we'll look at the one that I did modify. Now the one that I modified, it took me some time to figure out how we were actually going to do all this. I made lots of changes to the roles. Some of the things that I need to change with the roles that I did notice as well is the operators, these blue guys, they would actually walk away from the control room and try to do the fire extinguisher. So we didn't ever want that because they had fire extinguisher 10. I changed the fire extinguisher to 0 so they'd never actually walk away from the control room when there's fires. The other thing I had to change too was a lot of roles for the red crew as well. You can see all the lasers are still up. The shields are up. I have a lot more heat reduction and other things on here, and I changed a lot of the roles heavily in a sense where I come over here and I edit the role and I change the role where I know I had to change fire extinguisher from 10 to 9. I know I had to change some of the power and how the power is distributed, especially for power capacitor as well, to make sure that they actually work and actually can power the power capacitors. We had to change dedications for how the crew members were actually set, because before they were not set to shields, they were not set to a lot of things, so shields would go down really quickly and it would take out the ship. The original loses most of the time, but not all the time, because the original still has very good burst damage. You'll see right here, the priorities right here, they're not dedicated to the shields. They are dedicated to the power reactor, and the power reactor is dedicated to the shields. But you'll notice that in a long sustained fight, and if you don't take out the actual control room, and a long sustained fight, this one doesn't, after the initial burst damage, it doesn't keep up because you see these little guys walking little tiny tokens to the shields. It's just not fast enough. It does great burst damage, but when you're looking for sustainability from the side after the burst damage is done, you want them to constantly still be firing, you want your shields to still be up, even though a whole section is taken off, you want it to still keep going. And then normally if the control room goes down, it's a lot easier fight. But you can see the original lost most of its weapons because the shields are not up. And then it stops doing damage, where this one has much more longer sustain. You can see the shields are almost always up. from whatever side is not taking damage. And if another ship's not doing enough damage to it, this ship definitely tanks a lot better and a lot more sustained. Now the next thing that I edited on the ship, and it took some time to do, was thrusts. So the original ship doesn't fly that fast. Let me go ahead and let's take the original ship. And when I was changing it out, and that was the last thing that I changed, and it was how the movement would work on it. So we take version 3.1, and you watch how 3.1 I think only goes like just within the 70 range. And it's not bad, but for a ship this big that's overclocked and has overclocked thrusters, you really want to be able to be going a lot faster than just 72, I can't remember exactly how far it goes, 72.7? Or if we take the new ship, the one that we spent a lot of time editing and changing, this new ship, we flipped the thrusters, one of the thrusters downward. To compensate for the reverse thrust, we put in these small thrusters in on the sides to help out. And then we also put in a standard thruster back here. I tried to put in a huge thruster, but the huge thruster makes it so that it doesn't move properly and it doesn't fight very well in a skirmish. So it goes about 83. I would like this to go 90, and that's where I would like to modify more. But without changing the entire ship and like ripping apart everything and changing all the design, 83 is not bad for what we can add into. Now we do notice that sometimes one of these thrusters in the back, they do go out just because not enough power, but it does work a lot better than what it was working before compared to the original. Because if you watch the original, they're just pulling in these tiny little chips. And yes, they can constantly provide power, but it's not... You see how many crew members it's taking for that, where this one, we have a constant sustain of energy. Now the placement of putting in these power capacitors and moving everything around is probably what took the most amount of time to pimp this ship out and change it. Trying to figure out where to put each one of the fire extinguishers so each section was there. Trying to figure out where to put airlocks so that actually work. The other thing I noticed too is fires occur a lot in the middle, so I had to put fire extinguishers here and then attach the middle here, depending on how the damage was being taken. I've played these two ships against each other for quite a bit, and I've gone through, as you've seen, many iterations of it. And a lot of times when you're watching the fight, you'll see fires break out in different spaces, so I had to put move fire extinguishers in very specific spots, depending on where the damage was taken. We didn't add any extra armor. If anything, we took off some extra armor. We did add in a little bit more heat exchanges on the outside so that we could take some of the heat and the fire that comes in. You'll notice that there'll be a lot less fires on this new ship compared to the original. The original would catch fire a lot more often, and also you can see the control room. Once the control room is blown up, because this is not a very good spot to put the control room, once one control goes down, room goes down, the whole ship is just frozen like this, and then you see the ship can take it out. Now we still do have fire problems, as you can see, but the nice thing is with the fire extinguishers placed how they are, the ship can, the front of the ship and the sides of the ship can recover from, even though all the fires are breaking out all over the place. That's one of the biggest downfalls when you're using so much heat and so much heat exchange and everything else. Fires will break out, but even though we have all these fires, we do lose parts and we do lose crew members. But you can see we do have enough fire extinguishers so that we can at least save the ship so we don't completely blow up the ship. And then once they recover, then they come back and they can still sustain the fight. The really nice thing that I like about how New Player built this ship is it's each one sectionalized, which when I was building it, you can see this is a section, this is a section, and this is a section. So it's a 3-section ship, even though it's a Dorito, and it looks like one big gigantic ship, but it's actually compartmentalized into 3 sections. So even if you lose the front and lose one of the sides or lose the ends, it works very well with the way that it is. Now I do notice that we are having heat problems here for the thrusters in the back, which means that we either need more heat exchange or we just don't have enough radiators for all the heat damage that's being given to it at the time, which may be something that we want to fix. And that's not going to work because that's already fills this up. What if we put, how much empty space is in the middle? That's the next thing we needed to look at is can we add more heat exchange, which you can add more thermal batteries. Like this section you see right here is empty. This section, is it a Dorito that's meant to have a hole in it? You could technically put more in here, giving it just that much more everything. That's not attached anymore because of that. No, that bugs that. Huh. We're gonna figure out where we're gonna attach this. That's attached there. In theory, if we made it... If we made it on the side like this... Might be overkill, but... There's a thought. So those things don't overheat. What if we did something like that? Now we're changing the shape and everything, but what I wanted to see is... Can we stop the fires altogether? And honestly, if we could pipe... No, that's cut off that way. The amount of heat that would come off this. And now we did add a whole bunch more extra weight to it too. But what I'm thinking here now, what will happen is because we've piped this in here, and it is back piped here, and that's piped in there, and this is piped in here to here, and this is piped into here. That's to that system. I haven't seen any fires break out. Now obviously you're gonna have to repaint the whole thing with me making that change. Oh, maybe you don't have to repaint it. Okay, good. Still keeps the whole scheme. It's a Dorito with cheese in the middle. I kind of like that. That does seem like it might just... I mean, they went all the way almost fully red, but they were able to take on this other ship without ever catching fire, which to me is a win. And then we still sustain tons of damage here and there, as you can see in different parts of the section, but we'll walk away with most of the ship with what the changes we've made. Now comes the other chests. The next test we want to do is we want to... Where is it? It's probably in community ships. Into community ships, 16. Want to test versus... What was the ones that we liked? Let's test against social stuff. Oh, this is already expensive. But I want to see if we can take on 2 of these guys. Most likely not. Maybe? I don't know. This thing's got a lot of disruptors. It's got heat. It's got deck cannons. But what I'm thinking is, because it's a Dorito and it's compartmentalized, if we lose this, and then if we lose this, the control room, that would be the downfall of this ship. Now, it's actually living longer than anticipated versus 2, and then once we see we lost the control room, that's where we're going to think of, can we put a control room in a much safer spot? This already is back here, but can we move it further back in a more protected spot? Where could it go? Now, we did rip off most of the front one. How much does this ship cost? The unnamed ship is... But the Dorito has a lot more armaments on it. In a 1v1, I'm very certain the Dorito's gonna win. Costs more, it's got a lot more damage output with all the lasers on it. Or maybe not. I don't know, the deck cannons do a lot of pierce damage. And the heat weapon you can see is heating up very, very well, and then the deck cannon does pierce damage blows away a lot of things. No, it's slowly getting whittled away. I think the other thing that Dorito's missing too, and a new player whenever you watch this, or if you're watching it now, is I would like to add disruptors to this somewhere. The laser is totally, you can see it can rip off shields, it does a ton of damage, it does area effect damage. But we sustained heavy damage in the front, which can be okay in a front-to-front battle. But we lost more than we should have if you had like disruptors on it, maybe to rip off all these extra shields. I know he alternated them, but you see the shield placement and all the actual protection. That might be something we need to think about too. Another good one to test against as well would be 13. Oh, a whale shark. Let's do a whale shark and face 2 of these guys. Let's see if we can take it on. So 2 Doritos. Might need 3 Doritos. I didn't realize how big the whale shark actually is. It's huge! Alright. Dorito, I like the movement of the Dorito. I never actually put 2 of these in here. I like the fact that it sweeps. It's tanking it decently, giving me enough time to come over here from behind to do damage in the back. Honestly, I like the movement of the Dorito. It did very well. You can see it got behind the actual whale shark and was able to do really good damage from behind. This is actually a good test. And you can see, even though both these ships separated, they're actually 2 separate ships now because of where the control rooms are set, and they fly off into their own. So the Dorito split in half, even though it cut them in half, and we actually have 3 ships now that can still do damage. So that was a good example of what the new Dorito can do. What was another one? Another test I would want to test against would be this one. Can it face 2 of these? 1v1. Crew cost is near similar. Actual cost of both ships is also near similar. Now this would be a decent test to see, can we take on 2 of these guys? You can see the Dorito, tons of firepower to take on that one in a front to front. And you can see right here, I think it's going to take on this one as well, in a front to front facing, for the same cost. And that's showing that it's doing very well. Now the original Dorito I think would actually have problems, mainly because the armaments and the fire shields and the lasers wouldn't stay up as long. So if we take the original, and I'll show you just how the original does. Pimp and a new player will take the version 3.1. Version 3 doesn't have those doors. So here's the original with the doors put in. I think the biggest problem this one's going to have is, you see how the shields come down? And then the shields won't come up fast enough. This is the biggest improvement that I made to it. As you see, they walk in and walk out. And I probably spent several hours doing the changes that I did. And they do get the shields up. I don't know, we took out both of them with taking less damage. Well, that's definitely strange. Is it because he has them separated for... Oh. Because they just let the lasers go down and they only focus on the shields? I don't know. You see all the lasers are down and they're not firing? They come back up eventually, but... it took more damage that time, but... The Dorito, even the original, does very good damage. But you saw the weapons weren't constantly firing. That definitely plays in some downfall to it. I like the new one. Another test we can do. Can you beat 3 of these? Now this cost is a lot more, and the crew is kind of similar, but the cost is a lot more. What I want to see is, does it do enough damage? It did enough damage to blow through the first one. And it should do enough damage to blow through a second one. I can see some of the weapon systems went down shortly. Because we're taking heat damage from all over the place. But we took off most of the armaments in that one. And yeah, I think it's gonna win. Because it lost all its weapon systems in that one. This one also lost all its weapon systems. But that's the thing I like about this Dorito ship that NN Nuclear made. Is it's got a lot of damage output. Yeah, I took on all three. This was the other challenge that I was trying to build for people, is can you take on 3 of these things with one single ship? Because these guys do a lot of damage. And the Dorito does it. So let's see, Dorito, Pimp version, and then the player. Let's take this one right here, version 1.31. 2 of these guys versus, and I'm wondering if we can take on a few of the IO ships. I can't remember which one I wanted to look at. Not crude most, cost most. Cost high. We got the Extinguisher, Prometheus, Silver. I think all of these have railguns and whatnot, which is a big problem. I don't think 2 is going to take on this. Yeah, because of the railguns. This is a railgun kite with heat weapons on it. And the problem about the Dorito is it does cool damage, but it's not fast enough. See, it's only going to go 80 at the max. The railguns are just going to keep annihilating it, which is another big problem. And we also don't have any front-facing point defenses on the Dorito. Does really, really good damage, but when you're playing it in an actual gameplay, you can see right here, we are lacking point defenses in the front. We are lacking speed. Okay, so let's not test it versus the Extinguisher. What about the Prometheus? Is this a railgun ship too? That was an ion beam. Railgun ship's the only way to really beat them currently, and I don't know when they're going to change it or if they're going to change it. But you just have to have speed. Lots of speed to get around it. Maneuver around. I do like the amount of damage that's coming off the Dorito. I do like that it can flank like it's doing. It does have good movement for a slow, big ship type of combat style. But if we really wanted to change it, the Dorito, we want to somehow add in more movement, forward-facing movement, and not mess it up. But see, once you get close enough to any ship that's in a... I wonder if we can take on this one with little flat cannons. This thing has a ton of flat cannons, and it has heat weapons. It should, in theory, be able to tank it from the front, and then the other one should be able to cover by. I like how they can just not get stuck on each other. It is a nice feature. And it is semi-fast enough to be able to maybe get from behind. Okay, see, it has good burst speed. And then it's tankable enough, you can see it's taking all these flak and everything, even though it's not getting destroyed right away. And then the back ship can come over here and blow it up from the back. So, in a lot of the big ships, the Dorito is a really good, I would say, mid-game starter-like type of ship. Not fully endgame. You'd need to pair this with something else to be able to take on railguns and everything else. But if you had 3 Doritos, now you need more speed to take on, like, any of those other ones. What is another one we can test? It's cost a lot. These are already the 2 biggest ones. And the 2.5. What is this one? Is this a railgun ship? Wrong place. $1.3 million. But this is a ship that I would actually play in the game. But I think I would do more modifications. I would add... It's missing forward-facing point defenses. Especially for all the missiles and everything. But I like the tankability it has. Oh, this is a kiting ion beam. You can see right here, this one's struggling to keep up. So if you face something like this, you would actually have a hard time, because this one, see how fast it goes backwards? This is a big ship that goes backwards. This is why you need speed. You need speed to take on these in-game ships. And that's what this ship is lacking. Like, what we would do is add in another engine room here, point defenses here, and then we'd lose the Dorito shape. Like, if for me to add more speed to this ship, I would add engine room, and maybe even think of engine room somewhere in here, but then you would have to redo all of everything, and then it would no longer be a Dorito. But maybe I'll just do that on my own. This was just to fix his Pimp's Dorito ship. You can see it did take out half the ship, but with just 2 of these, this ion beam ship does so much more damage. Alright, let's go back over to the other Pimp My Ship folder. Pimp, where it is? Where is it? Where is it? I don't know where it is. Too many folders. And I want to see... Oh, I have it wrong by name. And 1.9? 1.9, yeah, it was 1.9. How does it do versus 2 of these? Now this one doesn't have... This one was more tanky than it was damage dealing, but the tankability, if you either could go full damage, or you can go tanky, or you can do a mixture of both. The nice thing about Chief Loss's ship, as you can see, it's got great maneuverability. It comes from behind. We already lost power to here, and because the disruptors are overclocked, when they hit, they can pierce through and depower the actual control rooms, which you saw what it did. And it's super tanky. You see, it took a long time to actually beat the first one, and then now we might have trouble reversing around, maybe because this thing doesn't think it's debris, to face this other one. But you see 2 Chief Loss's ships, which is very similar cost. And this is what I'm showing the example of. Very tanky, doesn't have a ton of armaments, but the tankability, and if you can do enough damage and maneuver around, you can actually do very, very well. So the other thing we could do here is I want to see if I actually do and do none. Control it myself, which I really like. People sharing that to me. And if I control this myself, decide to just blow up this. Does it do enough damage to take on right down the middle? Yeah, it did. And then once that's gone, we now reverse, take out this one. So when you're controlling it, you can see, I mean, I know the ship's still firing, but we took out both the control rooms. If it was an actual fight, yeah. So it can tank both of them when you're controlling it, but when you're not controlling in an AI fight, you can see 2 Artemis's MK4, I believe. They have the great sustain, great flankability. The AI doesn't know what it's shooting at. I mean, it did do great burst damage right there, but at this point, this other ship comes over here and it's from behind, right? And it's ripping off all key parts of it, especially the radiators. But I like how Nuclear put in the stacking of armor here. Very nicely designed. I like this with the radiators. I like how it's all piped in to one big single system. And then I really like that he has tons and tons of lasers on here. It's just a really cool design. I just couldn't help myself from touching it, and that's why I ended up playing around with it as much as I did. But I do like Artemis's MK4, so for those that did watch the Pimp My Ship of this one was a very fun one to actually modify and change and make it the way it is now. As you can see, it's a tanky ship, and when you're playing in the actual game, this is what you want. You want a tanky ship. So I would actually, if I were to play the game, I would mix in this ship and this ship. Now, I don't remember how fast Artemis MK goes, but I do know, I remember it flew pretty fast. Another ship to test against is DJ's ship. Now, I don't think this is the... this is not the one with all of it, but this is the new Polaris, where it has nukes on it. It's got missiles, it's got a heat gun on it, it's got shields on the side. And I think the biggest downfall that this ship's going to have, the Dorito, like I said before, we don't have any forward-facing point defenses. Now, to put in the forward-facing point defenses, we either got to put them in the front without changing the shape, or figure out how to get these back-facing ones to face forward. The Dorito's actually living a lot longer than I expected. So you see how we lost this whole side. The control room's still there. That's the whole reason why the ship can still move. If all the missiles came in and took out this control room, the Dorito would stop moving, which would make it a single target, which would make it so that this ship can just tear it apart. But this ship's about to run out of missiles. Okay. It did still take it out, but that's just because we have no forward-facing point defenses, which I think I want to fix right now. So where do we put point defenses on this, and how do we decide we want to get them in there? Like, even if, and then it'd be nicer if we could we can have two forward-facing point defenses there. This back one here, I know he's got this. I always like to face it the other way too. Take off this and this. Now we get a little bit of forward facing, a little bit of back, but 2 is not going to be enough. Honestly, if we could put in this, that pipes them all in. And this needs to be piped into there. Right? And then we need to fix this part. Those overclocked. Those are all overclocked. Those are all overclocked. Save ship design. We'll go to 3.2. And new player. 3.2. Now they're still kind of hidden behind. It would actually benefit some if we move this up. Maybe one more. Like it got blown up even faster because we lost the control room. The EMP took out the power to the control room. Half the ship got disabled really quickly. Now this is what I was expecting to have happen on the first one. Alright. If we were to change this slightly. No missiles ever come from behind so far. It'd be better if we did it some other way. We'll stay on 3.2 because I don't know if we want to keep this. 3.2. Okay. What if we move this one more up? Yeah, only 2-point defenses and it's barely even taking on any missiles. We need at least like more than 4. What else could we change? I mean, we just have to change some more of the shape. It's gonna look funny. We need at least 4 here. This can be one at the back. This changes this to 4. Maybe even the 5th one. Does that block it? Yeah. There we go. Save it over 3.2 because I still don't know if we want to keep it. Plus, we still got to face it versus the original. Figure out if the Dorito's even going to... See, it doesn't even look like a Dorito anymore. Those nukes are just blowing up huge sections. Now the reverse ones didn't even last that long. The nukes are taking out huge sections of the ship. Yeah, this new Polaris is a deadly, deadly ship to face first. Now, if you took two Doritos, obviously it costs so much more. But this is what you would kind of be facing if you're doing in-game. Is it enough point defenses to at least stop some of the missiles? We're stopping some, but we're not stopping enough. We're still stopping some. There, and then you could walk away. Now obviously the costs were more than double the cost. But with the extra point defenses, it does help. But we also slow down the speed. We're going to stick with 3.2 and 3.1. I'll put both of them in the modified section for... Just because I don't like the shape that we changed there. But it needs even more point defenses if we're going to face against bigger in-game ships. But I do like that we have at least point defenses facing in each direction now. And then speed-wise, you see we go 80. 80 is like the bare minimum for a non-overclock ship. But this is an overclock ship, so it needs more speed. So, and new player, whenever you see this, and after you see the ship change, if you can figure out a way to keep the shape or whatever you want to do, but add more thrust so this goes at least 90 to 100, preferably 100 or more, then this ship would be a very, very good ship to play in-game as a battleship. Let's see, another one we can test against as well would be under community. I like that whale shark. 14, Crimson Spear. I remember the Crimson Spear had a whole bunch of missiles on it. Isn't it? Yeah. Now the Crimson Spear is definitely a different type of ship. You can see right here the point defenses are definitely able to take on some of the missiles that are not coming from like the Polaris with nukes on it. And if you don't have nukes and it's just regular missiles, this is enough point defenses for one that's not throwing a ton of missiles at you. Now the other one to test against too would be, can we take on a I can't remember the name of the ship. The Awful Tears. Can we take on an Awful Tears? Can a Dorito take on this? I haven't seen many ships that can take on an Awful Tears in a 1v1 front-facing ship that costs less. I know that's definitely possible, but this type of ship, it's an energy ship, right? Lasers. We have point defenses. The point defenses are actually stopping some of the missiles with the shields together compared to all the nukes. Yeah, I've not seen an energy-based ship taken. Well, I've seen ion beams do it, obviously. But the Dorito, as you can see, just did it. That's actually impressive. This is my standard for tanky missile boats, and it costs 1.7 million, 354 crew. And it's got a lot of missiles. Now, granted, it doesn't have any EMP, it doesn't have any nukes on it, but if you're just facing straight missiles, this did better than I expected. In a 1v1 fight. Gonna do it again a second time. It's got a lot of shields. The shields can stay up. We are running out of power here from the capacitors, but with the point defenses taking on a few of the missiles, not all of them. And the amount of damage output that comes out on the Dorito, that still did better than I anticipated. Yeah. I mean, the Alpha Tails are still firing at it, but it's still... The ship's still here. This is repairable in the game. Now we have fires all over the place, and this is where we would test to see if we have enough of the fire extinguishers to put out all the fires. Heat-wise, we did pretty good. Awful Tears is still throwing missiles out at us, even though it doesn't even have a control room. Deadly ship. Anything else anybody wants to see that's test against this? If not, I think I'm gonna go ahead and probably wrap this up. I do actually want to see if they something like this. That might be too much. Yeah, that's already very expensive. Alright, so if you enjoy this content, please feel free to hit the like button. Helps me out a ton. Also push out this content to other people, bring awareness to it. If you like, please feel free to leave me a comment down below. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, especially what you don't like so that I can improve, make better content. If you have not already, please feel free to subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe, that's okay as well. Come back once a week, once a month, check out what content I have. Thank you all for being here, thank you all for watching. And we're just going to finish this little fight right here and see if we actually can beat this ship. Now we don't have any more damage output. You can see right here the mining lasers. It still did better than I thought it would. Yeah, this is for those that are wondering why mining lasers over. As you see the mining lasers, but now those mining lasers are overheating. It actually won. Not only did it do better than expected, it won. Because this one overheated. Where this one did not overheat too much, and we still had enough firepower to keep going. So in a 1v1, as you can see, the Dorito came out on top. And the Dorito also costs less, and, well, it has a little bit more crew. But that did better than I expected. Anyways, thank you all for watching, thank you all for being here, and we'll see you all in the next one.